Hello everyone, my name is Faisal and I want to explain about my text. It's about what is ethics, what use is ethics, where does ethics form from, ethics are different to legislation. Okay, let's go started. Number 1. What is ethics? At its simple, ethics is a system of moral principles. They affect how people make decisions and lead their lives. Ethics is concerned with what is good for individuals and society and is also described as moral philosophy. The theme is derived from the Greek words ethos, which can mean custom, habit, character, or disposition. Ethics covers the following dilemmas: how to live good life, all right and responsibilities, the language of right and wrong, more decision what is good and bad. Our concept of ethics have been derived from religions, philosophies, and cultures. They infuse debates on topics like abortion, human rights, and professional conduct. Approaches to ethics. Philosophers nowadays tend to divide ethical theory into three areas: mathematics, normative ethics, and applied ethics. Mathematics deals with the nature of moral judgment. It looks at the origins and meaning of ethical principles. Normative ethics is concerned with the content of moral judgments and the criteria for what is right or wrong. Applied ethics looks at controversial topics like war, animal rights, and capital punishment. Number 2. What use is the ethics? Ethics needs to provide answer. If ethical theories are to be useful in practice, they need to affect the way human beings behave. Some philosophers think that ethics do this. They argue that if a person realizes that it will be morally good to do something, then it will be irrational for the person not to do it. But human beings often behave irrationally. They follow their gut instinct, even when their head suggests a different course of action. However, ethics does provide good tools for thinking about moral issues. Ethics can provide a moral map. Most moral issues get us pretty worked up, think of abortion and enthusiasm for status. Because there are such emotional issues, we often let our hearts do the arguing while our brains just go with the flow. But there's another way of tackling their issues, and that's where philosophers can come in. They offer ethics rules and principles that enable you to take a clearer view of moral problems. So ethics provides you use with a moral map, a framework that we can use to find our way through difficult issues. Ethics can pinpoint a disagreement. Using the framework of ethics, two people who are arguing of moral issues can often find that why they disagree about is this one particular part of the issues and that they broadly agree on everything else. That can take a lot of head out the argument and sometimes even in and way for them to resolve their problems. But sometimes ethics doesn't provide people with the sort of help they really want. Ethics doesn't give right answer. Ethics doesn't always show the right answer of more problems. It is more and more people thinking that for many ethical issues there isn't single right answer, just a set principles that can be applied to particular cases to give this involved some clear choice. Some philosophers go further and say that also ethics can do is eliminate confusion and clarify the issues. After that, it's up to each individual to come to their own conclusion. Ethics can give several answers. Many people want there to be single right answer to ethical question. They find moral ambiguity hard to live with because they genuinely want to do the right thing. And even if they can work out what right thing is, they like the idea that somewhere there is one right answer. Number 3. Where does ethics come from? Philosophers have several answers to this question. God and religion, human conscience and intuition, a rational moral cost-benefit analysis of action and their effects, the example of good human beings, a desire for the best for people and its unique situation, political power. God-based ethics, supernaturalism. Supernaturalism makes ethics inseparable from religion. It teaches that the only source of moral rules is God. So something is good because God say it is. and the way to lead a good life is to do what God wants. Intuitionism. Intuitionists think that good and bad are real objective properties that can be broken down into component parts. Something is good because it's good. Its goodness doesn't need justifying or proving. Intuitionists that think that goodness or badness can be dictated by adults. They say that human beings have an intuitive moral sense that enables them to detect real moral truths. They think that basic moral truth of what is good and bad are self-evident to a person who directs their mind towards moral issues. So good things are things that sensible person realize are good if they spend some time pondering the subject. Don't get confused for the intuition. Moral truths are not discovered by rational argument. Moral truths are not discovered by having a balance. Moral truths are not discovering by having a feeling. It's more a search of moral, a moment, a realization of the truth. Consequentialism. This is the ethical theory that the most non-religious people think that use every day. It bases morality on the consequence of human action and not on the action themselves. Consequentialism teaches that people should do whatever products the greatest amount of good consequence. One famous way of putting this is the greatest good for the greatest number of people. The most common forms consequence are the various variants of unilateralism, which favor action that produces the greatest amount of happiness. Despite its obvious common sense appeal, consequentialism turns out to be complicated theory and doesn't provide a complete solution to all ethical problems. Two problems with the consequentialism are: it can lead to the conclusion that some quite deadful acts are good. Predicting and evaluating the consequence of action is often very difficult. Non-consequentialism or deontology ethics. Non-consequential is concerned with the action themselves and not with the consequence. Is the theory that people are using when they refer to the principle of the thing. It is what that some acts are right or wrong it themselves, whatever is consequent, and people should accordingly. Virtue ethics. Virtue ethics looks at virtue of moral character rather than ethical duties and rules or the consequences of action. In that some philosophers of this school deny that there can be such things universal ethics rules. Virtue ethics is particularly concerned with the way individuals live their life and less concerned is in seeing particular action. It develops the idea of good action by looking at the way virtuous people express their inner goodness in the things they do. To put it very simply, virtue ethics it teaches that action is right if and only is action that a virtuous person will do in the same circumstance, and that virtuous person is someone who has particularly good character. Number 4. Ethics are different to legislation. Ethics are a system of principles and customs that affect how people lead their life. Although we do not have to follow this principle or ethics, it is generally in the best interest for everyone that we do. Ethics are different to legislation or laws that legally dictate what is right and wrong. Ethics represent society opinion about what is right and what is wrong. When we think about ethics in digital technology, we are considering what society opinions are about the use of computer and the development of hardware and software. For example, should users' history be sold to their parties? Should a new employer be allowed to access your social media history? How should you conduct yourself when online? Okay, that's enough from me. I'm sorry if I had a mistake, and thank you, sir.